Gatherings like this are so important, and I really want to thank my friend Rima and her colleagues for bringing us here together. And I'm going to pick up on the theme of three kinds of interfaith work noted by Hussein as he was speaking. I'm fortunate to work with faith leaders from many different faiths, and I've gotten to see firsthand important dialogue taking place. But I seem to find myself left asking two questions. Where's the hands-on interfaith experience for the rest of us? And absolutely, dialogue is important, no doubt, but what are we actually going to do? And so that's how Faiths for Safe Water was born. Water is the source of all life. It's the singular shared symbol among every world religion, and it's the place where all faiths can unite. And why? Because of this, right here. Exactly. It looks like something most of us would flush down our toilet, quite frankly. But to almost 1 billion people every day, this looks like they're drinking water. And I know none of us can imagine drinking something so utterly disgusting. But every day, 1 billion men, women, and children have no choice. And 2.5 billion lack the dignity of basic sanitation. That's about 40% of the world's population, and it leads to tragic results. The global water crisis is the leading killer of all children under the age of 5. One child dies every 20 seconds. It kills more children than malaria, AIDS, and tuberculosis combined. That's 4,500 little lives extinguished every single day. We're all too familiar with those pictures on TV of those distended, malnourished little bellies. But it's the water sanitation crisis that accounts for 50% of all malnutrition in children. It accounts for 80% of all disease, fills half the world's hospital beds. We fight malaria with millions of nets, but poor sanitation increases breeding grounds for mosquitoes. We spend millions of dollars getting life-saving drugs to HIV/AIDS patients, only to have them taken with disease-ridden water. The global water crisis is the keystone problem that undercuts so much of the good humanitarian work that the faiths do. Not addressing it defies logic. And for people of faith, we have to ask, does it honor God? Standing by when 4,500 children die every day? I think we all know the answer to that. And that is why faith-based advocacy, which is what I've been asked to speak about, can provide genuinely life-saving action, especially when looking at something as truly fundamental to all life as water. In a world that desperately needs the faiths to join forces for good, I would argue that water, the symbol shared by every religion, is an ideal place for us to unite. Water is not just the keystone problem. It's also the keystone solution. Maybe war and peace are debatable, but a clean glass of water for a child is not. Yet from Africa to Asia to Indonesia, the Middle East, Europe, Latin America, and yes, even here in the US, there are communities struggling with unsafe drinking water and substandard sanitation. And when you look at the globe and the people this hits the hardest, look no further than your Muslim sisters. The Muslim population in sub-Saharan Africa, for example, is projected to grow by nearly 60% in the next 20 years. And we know just how hard hit this region is by the global water crisis. And know this, I'm going to talk to you. Water is a woman's burden. Women can spend up to 60% of their day collecting it. It keeps them from caring for their young children or earning additional income for their families. It keeps mothers and daughters uneducated and in poverty. Every time I see this number, I still can't get my head around it. Globally, women spend 200 million hours every day collecting water. It's back-breaking work. Those yellow jerry cans you've probably seen, weigh 40 plus incredibly dense pounds. I can't lift one. Backs and bodies crumble from the daily impact. And it's dangerous walking along a desolate path or having to find a deserted area for privacy. Around Christmas last year, two sisters, ages 16 and 21, from a rural village in India, went to a nearby field in the early morning hours to relieve themselves. And there they were held at gunpoint and gang raped by 3 men. There was a short video I wanted to show. Rima, I think we don't have capacity? Okay, no worries, no worries. But I will point you to my website and you can take a look at it there. I know I've painted a really grim picture here, but there's so much important that you need to know. And that is, this problem is solvable. You are very much a part of that solution if you choose to be. So I want to start with some really simple stuff at home. So as I was saying, I've created a grim picture, but if you want to get involved, you really can be a solution. And let's start with some really simple steps at home. Awareness. The U.S. leads the world in per person water use. In just 4 days, we use more water here than the world uses oil in a year. The average American flushes the toilet 5 times a day, which comes to almost 6 billion gallons of clean drinking water literally going down the toilet every day. So here's the first thing you and your family can do. Think about all that wasted clean water the next time you unnecessarily flush the toilet because you tossed in a tissue, or when you turn on the tap to wash dishes or to brush your teeth, and then you sort of wander off to check out what's on TV. And by the way, I've brought a handout here today. I think, is it in the back? Okay, it's passed out. Okay, great. So in that handout, you're going to find some really easy things in which your family and your communities can participate, ways to get involved, simple, even fun. And these ideas work for any faith. So maybe I'd like to suggest pick one that you like and enrich your experience even more by reaching out to a neighboring church or a synagogue and share with them this opportunity to make a difference together. And so now looking beyond our homes, here's an acronym you need to know, WASH. WASH stands for Water, Sanitation, Hygiene, W-A-S-H, WASH. WASH is the solution. And there are proven faith-based organizations doing really successful work in WASH. For example, Islamic Relief USA is currently setting up irrigation systems in Mali. It's one of the world's poorest countries, so at least some of the communities in Mali there won't be solely dependent on rainwater or so vulnerable to drought. And there are clever innovations. One of my favorites is called the arbor loo. Does everyone know what a loo is? It's British slang for toilet. And you can tell with all the PhDs in the room, I get to talk about, potties. So an arbor loo is a toilet that does double duty, so to speak. It's a basic, no one gets that pun. It's a basic shallow pit, and by adding soil and ash after each use, you get this incredibly rich compost. And so when it's full in a few months, families simply relocate their latrine by digging another shallow pit. But the best part of this is this fertile soil in this old latrine is the perfect location to plant a fruit tree. They love the soil so much that these arbor loos produce significantly more fruit than trees planted in regular soil, and yes, it's perfectly safe to eat. And families quickly benefit, so you get better health, medical bills decrease, food on the table increases, excess fruit can be sold at market, and to increase the orchard, because now you've seen the benefits, families will soon require every member to always use the loo, and now we've changed hygiene behavior too. Since 2006, Catholic Relief Services have supported construction of more than 38,000 arbor loos in rural Ethiopian communities, and they're piloting its design for Kenya, Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda. So there's so much we can do from global to local, from awareness to action. And some of it provides really profound opportunities to teach our kids that they can indeed make a difference. In northern Kenya, during the rainy season, the 261 students there had rainwater, but they had no storage system. And in the dry season, they often had to walk several kilometers every day to fetch water from a polluted stream. The school had substandard pit toilets and no clean water to wash their hands, which resulted in frequent illness. Now, 8,000 miles away, on a Sunday school field trip, 8 middle school and 20 high school students from Kansas learned about the water crisis around the globe, and they decided that they were going to do something about it. And so with free support from a unique nonprofit that I would be more than happy to connect you with, called H2O for Life, these Sunday school students were partnered with the Induri Primary School to help them get the facilities that they needed. So from sending home empty bottles with church members and challenging each person to drop a nickel in the bottle every time they used water, to auctioning off a toilet that was donated by a local plumber, to a water balloon contest that targeted a very good-natured teacher, these industrious students raised $6,950. The implementing NGOs are required by H2O for Life to match what the students raised by 100%. And so $13,500 later, a lot has changed for the students at the Induri Primary School. They have gutters on the school to capture rainwater that goes through a sand filter and into a permanent catchment tank. That means clean, safe water. The boys and girls now have 4 separate latrines each, plus hand washing stations with soap. That means girls don't drop out because they don't have the privacy they need as they get older. The teachers note a dramatic increase in attendance because the students are healthier. There's lots more time in class because they don't have to walk long distances midday to fetch water. And as students share their new awareness about the importance of hygiene with their families, then improvements spread to the homes and the community at large. And as for the students back in Kansas, their teachers say that they benefited every bit as much as their counterparts in Kenya. These kids learned about their own water usage and conservation. They learned about kids in another culture. And most importantly, they learned that they can really impact the world. Abby is a middle school student, and she says, this is a quote, "It blows my mind to think that I have saved lives. It always seemed like that only happened in books or with someone who was famous, but now I can say that I've saved lives." Wouldn't it be great if our kids joined with kids of other faiths here to help kids overseas? After all, they are going to be our next generation of civic and faith leaders. No doubt building the right water sanitation systems to meet different environments is complex, but the point is this: it can be done. And so I keep asking, why is the need still so great if this is a solvable problem? What's missing? It's not technology, it's not innovation, it's certainly not need. So here's what I think. In the developed world, we simply turn on our taps and sparkling water pours out. Every one of us takes our water for granted. We never need to think about how very fundamental water is to every aspect of our health, lives, and livelihood. We never think about why all of our faiths put such emphasis on the power of water to cleanse and to purify. With so many competing global concerns, safe water and sanitation remains the underfunded underdog of global issues, the one that doesn't get the fancy fundraisers or rock star endorsements. And so the missing piece, it's us. And it's about priorities. This means that we're the ones who must make sure through our voices and our advocacy efforts that our leaders and our policies prioritize WASH here in the US and abroad so that successful projects, both secular and non-secular, are dramatically ramped up and given far wider sustained support. We know that when the faiths unleash their powerful megaphones in large numbers to educate, advocate, and act, change happens. And as women in particular, we have got to stand in unity and turn this religious symbol we all share back into the source of life that it is. And what better way to get to know your sisters from other faiths than by sharing the act of saving a life through advocacy and action together? And so I leave you with this. Human existence is much more than water, but it is never about less. From birth until death, the faiths share water in ritual, symbol, and need. Religious water is never neutral or passive, and nor can we be. It has the power to transform the world, and so do we. We possess some of the most influential collective voices in the world, and together we can make water the source of health and life for all.